Hey guys, welcome to Bledsoe Said So. I'm your host, Ryan Bledsoe. You knew that, but it's this new thing that I like doing where I just kind of introduce that because my wife thought it was a good idea. We're joined by Alex, and then tonight we have an extraordinary, unbelievably epic guest, my friend Ignacio, here with us. We're going to get into that in a second. He's one of the very first people I ever met at the Monroe Institute. It's going to be an amazing conversation. I have no doubt about that. But before we get into this, there's a couple things that I want to bring to your awareness. BledsoeSaidSo.com. If you want to be connected to everything that we're doing, whether it's YouTube, Patreon, our social medias, our merch store, we've got some pretty dope merch on there, which is one way you can support the show. Check us out on BledsoeSaidSo.com. Check out our Instagram, Bledsoe Said So, to be current on all of our news, our events, our public appearances, what we're doing, clips for the show, all that good stuff. And it has links to my socials and everything we got going on. When my dad is doing festivals with me, we post it all there. So to stay current with what we're doing, check out the Bledsoe Said So Instagram. And the last thing is, if you want to support the show and even in some ways be a part of the show, check us out on Patreon. Patreon.com/Bledsoe Said So. We have 2 tiers on there, the $5 tier and the $10 tier. And with each of those, you get access to our show hosted by me, full disclosure. And we have a wonderful Discord community, and you can get your name in the show credits and discounts on your merchandise. And we're scheming some other tier. But anyway, without further ado, we have my wonderful, amazing friend, Ignacio. How are you doing, man?
Good. Thanks, Ryan.
Good. I'm glad you're here.
Welcome. Yeah, me too. Finally.
Yeah.
It's been some time, but
it's been like a year in the works.
Made it work. Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely. Glad to be here.
Let's talk about how we came together, because I'm kind of fuzzy on that a little bit, how you and my sister met.
So I was talking with Emily today and asking, okay, what was the timeline, and really trying to think about it. And I think we connected on Instagram at first and reached out, knew she was a musician, with the idea of, some kind of collaboration. And we got to talking and, talked about our past with music and music study and piano. And we tossed around, oh, we worked on this music, and oh, you know that piece too, and so on. And then, just talked over time. And then Gateway last June was happening.
With me.
Yes. And I knew you were there. I don't know if you knew that I was going to be there. I was in, the room as people were gathering, and you walked in and you said, you're the guy I'm supposed to meet, big hugs as usual. And, great friendships born,
Yeah, I don't know if I knew in advance that you were going to be there. I didn't know anybody.
There's somebody that Emily said, there's somebody you have to meet.
Yeah. Well, she had been telling me about you, and you guys, she was already working on her album, and you were already in talks to collaborate about that. So I knew who you were. But when I went to Gateway last summer, and what we're talking about is when I went to Gateway for the first time for that whole creators program, Ignacio was there. Ignacio was one of the Monroe Institute staff who went through the program with us, the creators, just to kind of be a present body to make sure it runs smoothly. And of course it did. So Ignacio was there doing the program with us, but you were there as staff. So it was kind of an interesting thing. But I didn't know you were going to be there until the day I got there. Mm-hmm. And when I signed in, I saw a list of everybody's name. And I was like, oh, crazy, Ignacio's here.
Right.
And then there was like half a dozen other people that I recognized, or 4 or something like that. And, the rest is history.
Yeah, truly.
I think we talk about you a little bit on the 3-part series that I did about that Gateway trip. Mm-hmm. But also sometime this past year, Alex and I, and if you don't mind finding that episode for me so we could plug it, Alex and I did an entire, and Nick, right? Wasn't he was still on the show at that point, right? We did an entire episode about our experience that we did with your Creation Station program.
Yeah, last December.
So we'll wait for Alex to find that number. So if you guys want to go listen to that so you can see kind of some of the stuff and get an idea with what Ignacio is doing at the Institute. But, So what do you do at the Institute?
A lot of stuff.
Yes.
I'm a trainer at the Institute, guest trainer. I teach Creation Station, which is a program that is geared toward the creative arts, music, production, and really any branch of the arts, because essentially tapping into creative intelligence, creative data can be applied in whatever medium, of art you participate in,
right,
create. And so, but it was geared toward musicians and composers. And it's to help artists really plug into creative inspiration.
Yeah.
You know, oftentimes you run into what are considered blocks. I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. And we provide tools to help people, first of all, sort of move away from the distraction of the physical, their body, and how they're feeling, into creative data, inspiration, ideas, thoughts, and then to go into these deep states during meditation and sort of download that information and then come back to the here and now and turn that into a work of art, music, poem, book, invention,
podcast.
There you go.
Yeah. I appreciate that you held sort of a private class for us, and I do think we really benefited.
Mm-hmm.
Episode 201.
201. Really? It was that recent? Wow. I guess that's about half the year.
Well, 24 weeks ago.
Yeah, 6 months
and the
ago.
Interesting part about that too is this happens when participants go through. They kind of expect something to happen quickly. Well, sometimes it does. Sometimes it happens much like with Emily, right away during the program, during their experiences. And then some, it takes a little time for things to sort of blossom and grow. And I found it so interesting because you were super excited after it all. Everybody was so excited, the experience. And I thought things were going to happen. And then everything kind of got quiet. But you guys were slammed. You were so busy. And then all of a sudden, a few months ago, you said, Ignacio, we're going to get to this. We really want to do it. And then you cranked out the episodes about Creation Station and your experience there. And you said to me, I didn't realize. But as soon as we did that, our schedule was full.
Yeah.
And this is why it's episode 201, because you had other stuff that sort of came up. And that's kind of how it works. It doesn't go the way we logically think it's going to go. It goes the way it needs to go.
Something I noticed too, and I think we talk about this on the episode we did on episode 201. But looking back on my notes for that program, so we did it in December of 2024 with you, mm-hmm. right? And then when did that episode come out? It was probably around March we recorded it, I feel like. That makes sense because 6 months ago was April and it would have come out in a few weeks.
Yeah, four months ago.
I think we recorded it in March, so 3 months later. And even in that 3 month span, looking back on some of the profound experiences we had, and I was reading my notes and I was like, whoa, I do not remember it being this epic. Because I feel like when you have some crazy event, when you're having like expanded states of awareness, right? And all of this stuff is happening over a 40-minute span, and then you come out and in the following weeks, you just kind of remember that one part of it. And then reading your journal, it's like, whoa, I don't remember this, and this, but I know that Creation Station program that we did with you was very profound for our group. And it was the introduction to Monroe stuff for Alex, for Olivia, for Nick, for Casey, for Jenny. And here we are going down this path, going deeper and deeper and deeper into the Monroe stuff. We're sitting here figuring out how we're going to get Alex to Gateway, but I think we have an idea.
Yeah,
fairly soon, we'll get him there. But anyway, yeah, so an incredible, how can people find that schedule to do your Creation Station?
Go to monroeinstitute.org, Monroe website, and just do a little search for Creation Station. It's a virtual program, so there's just like, we did it. Everybody was in their own space, and find a weekend. It's 2.5 days, really full schedule, which is why it's hard to remember all the details, and why we encourage you to journal everything, and you come back to it and realize, wow, this happened, and you can connect the dots 6 months later, 10 months later. Now I understand what that was. In the moment, it might not seem quite so big, and then something happens, and you go, that was pretty epic.
Yeah, that was profound.
Mm-hmm.
It was worth every bit. And as I understand, are you the only one teaching that
Mm-hmm.
program now?
Yep. I'm the only one. And since it's virtual, we keep the numbers small. So it's generally a group 10 to 12 people. It's nice because we really get a chance to know one another in the program. And especially because it's a lot of like-minded individuals, participants who are in the arts or creative, or people actually will sign up. They simply want to be creative. They don't see themselves as creative and feel like they get this sort of nudge that this could be something to help them find that creative outlet. And it has for a number of people. They comment, they send me emails after and just say, you know, I didn't realize how creative I really was, but I just became aware that it was there. So you find the schedule there. We add virtual programs as needed, and you just sign up right on the website. You know, pick a date that's convenient and join us.
That's amazing. Yeah. I'm curious to, and of course I know this, but I want to go deeper in this. I want to sort of pull apart like your journey into consciousness, because I know that didn't just start with Monroe.
No.
You know, you've been with them, what, 3 years now? Officially?
Yeah, 3 years.
About 3 years?
3 years, little more than 3 years, yeah.
So I'm curious to know like what brought you towards this path to be into such out there things, you know? Mm-hmm. So let's go way back to at what point in your life were you like, yeah, I'm into this weird stuff, you know?
Well, and at the time, I don't know that I thought it was weird stuff. I discovered that over time. Yeah. But I can take it back to being really, really little, just a kid in the backyard. And I think what really started it with a catalyst was simply asking a question. And, you know, just musings as a kid. You know, little kids have crazy ideas and, you know, vivid imaginations. And I think I told this story in Creation Station, but one afternoon I was out on the lawn and just laying in the grass, looking up at the sky, watching the clouds just laying there. And I wondered what it would sound like. I'm a sound guy, musician, so I wondered what it would sound like if I could hear every sound that ever happened in the past. And then, of course, I thought, well, and in the future, what if I could hear all of those sounds all at one time? What would it sound like? Would it sound messy? Would it sound, you know, just a bunch of noise? And I realized, whoa, this would be so loud. But then I realized it wouldn't. All of the noise and all of the sound, from my perspective, if I were to hear it all at once, it would be deafening. So what would that be? It'd be silent. And I think that simple question was a catalyst for my life and the pursuit of silence and stillness. Mm-hmm. And I think that was the trajectory that led me through experiences in my life that ultimately led me to be on Bledsoe Said So. All of it. And we don't think about it in those terms, but really that did land me here. And how did it connect? You know, that weird thought or those weird thoughts that I had as a kid. Here we are talking about the extraordinary. It's not weird anymore. Now it's just extraordinary.
Yeah.
And so,
you're right.
So that, and then, you know, I kind of ask funny questions like that. Studied music through, you know, my younger years. And so I spent a lot of time alone, a lot of time in music, and which I loved. I had a great career in music, just retired in December from 40 plus years of teaching music, which was a career I loved. And I feel like I left that on top. So it was a great way to transition to this work that I do now, which is really the work of dreams. I get to combine the two worlds that mean the most to me, music and consciousness exploration. And so it's what an opportunity and a privilege and just truly dream come true to be in this space. But even while I was doing that, I was still constantly contemplating life and time and, you know, as best I could at 10 or 11 years old. And when I was about probably 11 years old, I thought I would try this thing I'd heard about meditation. And so we had a little cassette tape that our chiropractor gave us, and I popped it in a boombox, probably dating myself a little bit, put it in a boombox and lit some incense, because that's what you're supposed to do when you do, you know, meditation. Turn the lights out, and I just sat and listened to this music and kind of got lost in it. I wasn't sure what I was doing. I didn't know what it was. All I knew is you sat quietly, you know, and it was great. And I would try that every now and then, but then it was always about music, always about music. Again, alone, completely focused on music. Fast forward, and you know, my early 20s, I learned transcendental meditation. I learned to meditate with a technique.
I'm very curious about that. If
yeah, we can come back to it.
Yeah, I would love to. I would love to.
And so that really started my path into real consciousness exploration, and meditated regularly. I had a really good practice and continued from that point on. I had a little break that I took around 2010, and it was not a pleasant break. I knew that there was something missing, so I found a way of going back to it. And the reason it was an unpleasant experience is because that was what was missing. Mm-hmm. I just needed to power through those meditations. The frustration that comes with meditation, you know, oh, I can't quiet my mind, or I can't sit still, or I get uncomfortable, or
I'm itchy.
All these distractions, and not realizing that all of that is really crucial to your practice. There's nothing wrong with it. It's part of it.
It's the misconception, right?
That's exactly right. We don't understand what meditation is supposed to be, and is it really about quieting your mind and trying to, everyone fights and struggles to, I can't stop my thoughts. But I often wonder, well, why would you want to stop the flow of thought? Mm-hmm. You want to be able to manage it and focus on one thought at a time and see what it holds. What's the information that I need here? What is it that I'm supposed to be learning? How is this going to change my life? But instead, we struggle to try to be quiet and silence it. We are silencing the very creative intelligence that could possibly be changing your life. So I continued meditating, and in about 2018, I started doing a meditative practice that shifted my own personal explorations.
Wow.
And started reading books, new stuff that was coming out. And in 2020, you know, COVID happened, and so there's lots more time being at home. I read more, started going down rabbit holes, just like most of the world online, and this document comes across my desktop, and it was the CIA evaluation of Gateway. Mm-hmm. And so I read about it, and then started exploring, and decided to do Gateway at home. And so I did the whole Gateway experience on my own over the course of 7 months. And I knew this was the real deal. The experiences I was having were profound, to say the least. This was profound. And so I explored and looked at the website, scoured the Monroe website, discovered the Expand app, and explored all the meditations and exercises there. And a couple of them caught my attention. And so I reached out, asked about whether they had more of these types of exercises, and they were working on it. And I asked where they got their music, because the music's beautiful on there and really great for meditative work. And they, you know, told me where they got the music, and if I knew somebody that wrote music, send them their way. So, well, as a matter of fact, I know someone. And so I submitted a sample, and Paul, the executive vice president and CTO at the Institute, said, this is really, we're looking for something like this. And we have this program that we're going to invite you to coming up in June. This is what I talked to him in April, in June of 2022. And so they called me up, I flew out, and this was Creation Station.
Oh, cool.
And so it was the first Creation Station. It was residential. It was for a week, and it was a profound experience. And I talked to a lot of people there. I met Alan, the CEO, and she said, well, you know music, and you know what we do here, and I think we should see if we can collaborate. And so cut to the chase, I'm now one of the audio engineers. I write music for the Institute for Expand app. along with the training, and work with other artists to collaborate. I'd help curate new artists, new music, and we collaborate by enhancing their music with Monroe Sound Science, so we can share it with the world.
Yeah, and what's your official title?
I'm the Director of Music Strategy and Development, and so the objective is to curate and diversify our music catalog with our new advancing audio technology, with new genres of sound. Of course, the ambient music, meditation music that we're used to, but new sounds, more modern sounds, some slightly more energetic sounds, so that we have a variety of sound to deliver the audio tech for people to enhance and improve their lives.
That's amazing. That's just so crazy. And there's more to this story. We're going to peel it back because as I recall, when you were a child, you somehow or another, in hindsight, realized you already had some experience with this technology, right?
Exactly. And so in working on diversifying the catalog, I studied the music that had been previously released, got to know it, and a few months into working on this project, trying to determine what kind of music do we want to add to the catalog, I'm listening to some of the older material and realized that the music that I had on that cassette tape when I was 11 was an exercise of Bob's.
Wow.
And so I was already dipping into the Monroe stuff at a really young age and not even realizing that that was part of my trajectory.
So did your parents just have that or something?
Chiropractor gave us a tape that he had in his office. We were in getting adjustments, and my mom said, "Oh, well, that's really beautiful music." And our chiropractor's a great guy. I actually worked for him. That was going to be what I was going to do. I was going to become a chiropractor, but
thank God you didn't.
It goes, it doesn't go in a straight line. Life does not go in a straight line.
Right.
And so he just said, "Oh, here, you can have it. I have lots of these." And so there it was. Didn't realize, And then, of course, along the way, in actually the mid-'90s, I read Bob's books for the first time. And then a good friend of mine who, she's a great friend. I had a really rough time, and she came over, and she was a lifesaver, truly. She talked me down from just being at talked me down, boosted me up.
Yeah.
I was at a low point, feeling really sad and depressed, and she just in her sweet words, she managed to help me out with that. She had given me a gift, a CD, and it was a Monroe product, and little did I know, here again, there's Bob, his books, this CD, and I used it in my practice doing breath work at the time. And so it was present there all along. They were almost like they were breadcrumbs.
Yeah, the Monroe Institute body of work was, like you said, breadcrumbs just being sprinkled throughout your life, almost like pulling you along this path. I'm finding that it's been that way for me. And I think a lot of people who are into this, it's that way for them.
Agreed.
That it's always had its stamp on your life. And then when you dive in, it's just like, whoosh, this door opens up and it's like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is profound,
Yeah.
But that's wild. So you start looking really into Monroe, you reach out, and you find yourself just kind of walking the steps of becoming the director of music strategy. But as I understand it, you're also one of the guys who sits in the room and you make the audio technology, right?
Correct.
So obviously, without, let me back up. I'm curious to know what that's like. What is that like? What is that like actually making the technology that enriches millions?
There's a couple of facets to it. First of all, I remember having a conversation. We were in the cafeteria, in the dining room. Actually, it's not a cafeteria. The dining room at Monroe, and having a dinner with Alan during one of the programs, and she said, we're going to have you sign this paper, and then we want you to start working with the team with the audio tech and creating exercises. And so I started learning about Bob's methods and dove right in and started, sort of emulating what he was doing and understanding what he was doing. And then all of a sudden things started to make sense, how it worked. And then my supervisors, other, people who did this, Paul, of course, yep, go do it. It's all tested. It's all reviewed before it goes out. We're really careful about that, cautious, because it reaches a lot of people. We want to make sure it's a good experience, and easy to consume, so to speak. It's a privilege. It's something very special, almost sacred to me, because I've been handed a tool that can change people's lives.
And does.
And it's not that it does something for the individual, it supports them in their work. I didn't have that when I was that kid out on the lawn. I asked a question. You have to come to the work wanting change, sincerely wanting change. But if you want that, the support's there. And it's astounding how powerful it is when you say, I'm ready for change. And with the support of this, you're able, that becomes a collaboration. You and Bob's research and years of of curiosity. When we did OTP together, we learned a lot about Bob and his personality and who he was and his inquisitiveness and, his tenacity.
Sense of adventure.
Yeah, to keep trying. And, it didn't kill me, so I'm just going to keep going, in his beautiful, simple, humorous, and just don't give up kind of way. Mm-hmm. Let's just go. I'll try it on myself. And if we come to the work that way, you had this collaboration. You have the support with Monroe Sound Science. You have your intention of wanting change or wanting adventure or whatever it is, or healing, whatever. You bring that to the table and work with the audio tech. You are going to see results. I've seen it, number one, in my own self. And that's really the true test. Don't look at other people for it. I don't look just because I see other people succeeding at it. No, me. It starts with me.
I agree.
Because if I can't do this work and I can't change, why should I expect someone else to do it? No, I'm going to step up and I'm going to do it. And it's a practice that I'm very dedicated to. And it's the only way I feel in good conscience that I can ask someone else to do it.
Mm-hmm. I never feel like I'm in competition with anyone about something else. Like, in any aspect of life, I always feel like I'm in competition with me.
To become the better version of you from yesterday, yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And I've just always intrinsically understood this. But then you go and you sort of get into this thing and you go to, Monroe programs or whatever you do. I don't care if it's transcendental meditation or,
right.
Playing football or whatever.
Or playing a piece of music.
Yeah. And there's always people that are looking around. They're like, they do it better than me. And it's not about that.
That's right.
Your journey's about you,
mm-hmm.
And there's some people at these Monroe programs that nothing's happening to me. Everyone around me is, leaving the body or seeing, on the other side of the room. And it's like, well, I mean, your journey is not their journey. I'm just agreeing with what you said, right? This is for you. You have to show up and you have to be here for you and not be so concerned about everyone else. I love that. I love that philosophy. But I want to talk a little bit because I'm a big fan of Monroe Sound Science. Mm-hmm. Big fan. Especially ever since I met you. I went and I did Gateway last year, and you and I had a lot of experiences where we were sort of connected in another place.
Mm-hmm.
Remember?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, we would be like seeing flashes of each other from across the building and having messages and all kinds of weird things, and it was very interesting. But ever since meeting you, ever since doing Gateway, ever since going through the path over the last year of becoming a trainer, which newsflash, Ignacio and I were in that program together. So for the last year, I've been calling you my study buddy. And we actually went and were trained together because you didn't mention this in the start of the episode, but you're also an outreach trainer.
Correct.
So how many hats do you wear? Like 6? You're the director of music strategy. You're a sound science engineer. You're an outreach trainer. You're a guest trainer. Am I missing anything? Like you are tapped in.
I cleaned the pool during your gateway.
Oh, true. True. The pool boy.
If it needs to get done, you just got to do it.
That's important work, man.
It's just...
That's important work.
Yeah.
But it's been fun. I was making a joke this morning, or we were at lunch or something, or right before. It doesn't matter. And we were just talking about, like, what are we going to talk about? What's going to come up? And I'm like, dude, 2 of the 3 times I've ever even been to the place you've been there. Like, pretty much my whole Monroe experience has been with you.
Yeah, we've been there, sure.
I think I've done 4 programs. You weren't in one of them. There's my guidelines.
Guidelines, right.
Mm-hmm. And then I've been there 3 times physically. You were there twice. Like, you are a part of my journey with this place. Yeah. You're like, I always think of people, this is how I know they're for real, like some sort of spiritual mentor or some sort of like guide in my life. I always think of people like a Jedi Knight. And I think you're Yoda. Like for me, right? Yeah. You're Yoda, Arky's Qui-Gon Jinn, and there's this other lit cast of people that have a different Jedi that like this person's kind of like a guide, but this is their personality. You know what I mean? So you guys are definitely part of my path. But anyway, I'm a big fan of Monroe Sound Science, especially because I know someone who makes Monroe Sound Science, and I'm just really curious about what was that like learning the brain, being a pianist, right? That's your home base, right? Right. Piano. Being a pianist and then diving into this world of like consciousness work. What was that like? Like having to learn brainwave states, having to learn targeted states of consciousness, but also like, were you just nerding out about making music that's, bringing people into such expanded states? I'm curious about the inner journey of you learning this and doing this.
In the last couple of days, I don't remember. Maybe it was something we talked about too. It was a really interesting experience. I had the Muse device. Yeah. So I was working with the Muse device. I like to kind of nerd out, and
that's a brainwave thing.
Brainwave thing.
Okay, like an EEG portable one. Cool. Cool.
And I decided one day I was gonna play the piano and see what's going on.
Ooh, good idea.
What's going on while this is happening? Because you can tell when you go to certain brain states. And so I popped it on and made sure it was reading, looking at the app. And so I pulled out a piece of music. And I pulled out a relatively complicated one that really required a lot of movement, a lot of,
processing.
Left brain.
Yeah.
And so I'm playing probably about 15 minutes. I get done. And I, expect to see a lot of active, brain activity. And it was some of the deepest delta I've ever experienced.
Wow.
And so it's a deeply relaxed state, so to speak, one akin to sleep.
Mm-hmm. Deep sleep.
But I was fully active. So it made me think about, well, what's happening when a musician's playing music? Where do they go? Where are they tapped in? What are they delivering? And from where?
Yeah.
Are they making it up? I don't think so. Are you putting your own feeling and emotion, which is a human thing, right? Well, some might. This certainly wasn't that. That's a whole different perspective I have on music and emotion in music. But what's happening? And so then to tie it in with what you say with Monroe Sound Science, it's an incredible process to think of music that either I'm creating or that someone's created specifically for targeting specific states of consciousness, that the music can take you to that space, sort of just the nature of that sound might do it. But then you have this science, this technique, this method that deepens or enhances that. What a combination. The synthesis of those two, let's call them disciplines, to carry you into these deep states, and then be able to be aware while in that state. Like I wasn't asleep playing this piece of music. I couldn't be. I had to move, thinking of what finger, what note I'm playing, for how long, how loud, how fast. Lots of process. So what's doing that?
That's very curious.
Mm-hmm.
How you're reaching delta while you're, it makes me wonder, is your brain repairing itself even? Yeah. There's a lot of questions about this.
So it's really such a neat experience to know this music is carrying this entrainment that helps to cultivate these states in the brain that allow you to experience these expanded states.
Yeah. You just naturally went into the next thing I wanted to get into, because obviously we can't peel away the secret sauce of this, because it's for very good reason. It's not necessarily, public knowledge how this works. And anyway, so without peeling back too much, I wanted to talk about what Monroe Sound Science actually is, because we haven't even said that, and entrainment. And what this process is in the brain, and what it is that you're doing, right? You're making these, I know what you're doing, but I'm saying for the listener's sake, who maybe is, I love hearing you talk about Monroe, but like, what is it? You know what I mean? So let's talk about that. Entrainment, what is Monroe Sound Science?
So Monroe Sound Science is the latest advancing technology based on Bob's research, experience in moving to these deep states of consciousness, and using, of course, new modern techniques now available because of hardware advancements, software advancements, techniques that we work with to develop internally. The audio team works with them that target these states based on Bob's knowledge.
Yeah.
Research. That wisdom, that research.
There's a lot of research.
And
with Tom Campbell, sorry to interrupt, but with Tom Campbell, who was on the show 2 weeks ago. The timing of this is amazing.
Always.
This was not planned.
Always. And so using techniques, one of the biggest techniques is being able to use spatial audio, so that, from my perspective, and this is not even the perspective so much that I'm saying this is what Monroe says, but my personal experience with the sound is I lose track or don't feel anchored in the body because of the spatial and immersive sensation that you experience while listening to exercises that are Monroe Sound Science. So one of the things that you're trying to do, of course, we work on the premise that we're more than our physical body, and so the less you can be anchored in the body or the sensation of the body spatially, I personally feel it's easier to feel the freedom to explore beyond the physical. And so I think that's the biggest advantage from my perspective in using Monroe Sound Science, because you are not stuck in the body.
Yeah.
Or shall I say, you're not stuck with the idea that you're stuck in the body.
One thing that the main thing that I truly love about the Monroe Institute is, this is just me. This is my opinion as a researcher, as somebody who does a podcast. Nobody at Monroe is telling me this. Nobody at Monroe necessarily has this opinion. This is just me speculating as podcast host Ryan Bledsoe. And I told Alan this, and she wanted me to bring it up on the show, and she thought it was very interesting. She was like, "Cool, love that theory." I get the sense that the Monroe Institute is today like this futuristic tech ages version of like what they were doing in ancient Egypt thousands of years ago. Which was just having direct experience with the other, right? They were doing this in Greece. They were doing this in Persia. They were doing this in Egypt. They were doing it in India, all these places around the ancient world. And we call them today, or we know them as the mystery schools, right? It's not a religion. It's not a creed. It was just a body of work whether it was meditation, whether it was various XYZ ways that they would leave the body, or they would, have dreams,
spiritual practices,
various spiritual disciplines.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not one thing, right?
Right.
But I think the Monroe Institute is so amazing because it's like that in today's day and age. But it's not a belief system. It's not a dogma or a creed or a religion. It's just techniques that are universal, that are honed through science and research, and it's effective.
And on that, you bring up a really good point, is all of these, mystery schools, and it's all based on what Bob said. Go try it yourself.
Right.
Try it for yourself. This is tied to the concept of truth, and having it be experiential. What we do at the Institute is provide a place for you to experience this firsthand. I could tell you I'm having this experience. You will still, as much as you want to believe it, you will still have an element of doubt, mm-hmm. whether it's true or not. Well, it's true to me because I experienced it, but there is no way that I will ever convince you that it's true, because you will always have a sliver of doubt until you experience it. And then it becomes a truth for you. And now we can tell Alex, and he might say, that's really cool. And, that sounds like it's real. But.
Yeah.
And so we invite everyone to experience it for themselves, to try. To what you said, we provide tools.
Yes.
And when people come to programs, and I always share with participants, try not to expect an experience today, but come to this like you're going to learn a tool, practice the tool, and then when you go home, now start working with that tool for the experience. And it somehow takes the pressure off. Mm-hmm. Because everyone has this pressure that they have to do this now, they have to succeed. But they're still just learning the tool when they attend the workshops, the programs, the online programs, whatever it is, our weekend workshops that we do. Come and learn the tools and get good at the tool. Mm-hmm. Don't come and try so hard to have an experience. And in any practice, like if you're doing, let's say you're going to learn TM, don't expect a specific experience that day. Learn the process. And in time.
Yeah.
In time. And so then, and only then, does it become truth. But it becomes your truth. And you said it. It's great, Ryan. And we talk like this all the time. I'm not trying to convince anybody. I just want to have that experience myself. I want to do it because I want to know. And that's why you do this. Do it because you want to experience it. And then people will see, hey, there's something about that guy. What is it? They'll notice that you do something. They'll notice that you practice something. You're really good about this. You always, tell people, hey, just try it.
Yeah.
Go try it. I've never once ever heard you say, this. You should try it. You always do that. I like that. You should try it.
Yeah, we're not out here ever being like, only we can see yours.
Yeah.
No, it's like, please go outside and ask. Like, I want you to do this.
Exactly.
Like, you can do this.
Mm-hmm.
And Monroe's the same.
Mm-hmm.
It's like empower you. Mm-hmm. Like, you are more than your physical body. You are an immortal being of infinite energy. You are this. You are that. It's very mm-hmm. empowering.
That's
work.
right. It's for you.
I'm all about empowering people. Mm-hmm. It makes me sick when people do the opposite and they disempower people.
Yeah.
I'm all about giving people tools to change their life,
mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I'm finding that being the more I walk this path of like, I say collaborating loosely. I don't mean making content. I just mean being together, right? But the more I walk this path of like collaborating and being connected to the Institute, I find that it's more fulfilling for me mm-hmm. because I'm being similar to you, where you just kind of you wrote a message one day and you did a program or whatever you explained 20 minutes ago, how your first contact, and then they're like, hey, we need somebody that makes music, and you're like, me, and then you submit a song like overnight, right?
Yep.
And then boom, you're like getting hired at the place.
Yeah.
I sort of had a similar experience going to the content creator thing, and then Arky was like, dude, you should apply. I run the program to train trainers. You still got to apply, but I'll see it. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then boom, I'm going through training, and then boom, I'm becoming an outreach trainer. So we kind of had a similar path, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we've been on each other's path.
Right.
But I'm finding the more I walk this path, how amazing it is to be in a position to have the tools to facilitate awakening experiences for others and empowering individuals.
Right. You get to share it, and the really great part about that program, the outreach program, and really just simply being a trainer, is to watch. You're handing this information over, and you're watching people do this, and you're guiding them through it, because it's not our content. This is Bob's content. This is what Bob created.
Yeah.
And we're the stewards of it, and we can share it, and we can talk about it. We understand it. We studied it deeply.
We've also tried it
and continue to try
practiced.
it. And some days we'll try again tomorrow.
Uh-huh.
It's not something that you do and it happens, and it's, it's practice. It's practice. But we have the privilege of sharing it with ultimately the world, with people in our circle, our friends, colleagues, whoever we run into, and watching its impact in their lives when they actually engage it.
Mm-hmm.
And when they come to you and they say, hey, Ryan, I got to tell you this thing that happened. Yeah. If I had told you that, would you have believed me?
No.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you do. Yeah. And then they're excited about going back, and then they can't get enough, and they want to do it more and more and more. And then they'll run into some struggles again. I'm distracted about life, which we all know doesn't go in a straight line. Stuff comes up.
Mm-hmm.
But you get to try again the next day, and the next day, and the next day. And then the next thing you know, you're sitting on a podcast with, your brother. And
yeah. You keep coming back to this.
Yeah.
This must be a special moment. It is for me too. Every time I have not only just cool people, but also particularly for me, because of my passion, people who are from the Monroe sphere on the show, it's like a big deal for me.
Mm.
It's very cool. I don't think Monroe ever expected that they invited a bunch of content creators out.
No.
I don't think they truly knew the return they were going to get on that genius idea.
Mm-hmm.
To where look at Amy, she's constantly doing programs, and people are making content, but then they have me like being a trainer and like, hey, you come on and go and do programs. Like, it was just brilliant what they did there with that
Mm-hmm.
content creator thing. And I can't deny that since then, not because of me, but just because in general, I think because of all these content creators going out, like the freaking place is slammed through like 2026.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's so many people that are, well, how would I say? They have direct experience with the tools,
Mm-hmm.
with the programs, and you do get this sort of excitement about being able to share it with others.
Yes.
And that gateway was pretty spectacular experience for everybody there. Participants and trainers alike, everybody, all the support staff. I even know the hospitality staff had a blast. They had fun, which is they're a phenomenal group of people. Shout out to the hospitality. When you go to campus, if you ever get folks, if you ever get a chance to go,
It's a great experience.
Food's great, and the hospitality is phenomenal. But there are so many people behind the scenes who want everyone to have the opportunity to make a change for the better in their own lives.
Mm-hmm.
And so the staff that I work with, everybody on staff is amazing. I get to work with some incredible people.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone on campus is great. Outreach trainers that I've met, I know even some that I haven't met, I see the work they're doing, and their passion about sharing Bob's legacy is inspiring to me every single day. So, you've, as a creator, all the creators that were at that Gateway program have joined a great body of people that have this vision and mission of sharing it with 80 million people, which is it's a huge deal.
Let's talk about that. The 80 million people. Do you want to run back the M5000? You want to get into that?
No, not yet. Well, the M5000, we can talk a little bit about it. The M5000 is
the concept.
Was what Bob had earmarked as sort of the name for Gateway in the early days. The conception of it is that he simply wanted to reach 5,000 people with this experience. And this was early days.
Yeah, like the 70s, right?
At the beginning of this idea of him having a program where people could come and experience this. 5,000. If I could just get 5,000 people to experience this, we'd change the world. And I know in the last year, maybe a little more, I'm not sure on the numbers, I just recall in this amazing state of shock, but not really, but this amazing state of shock when in a staff meeting, and Paul says, in this year, we've reached 1 million people.
No way. Is that through like Expand and everything, or
Expand, our YouTube channel, outreach, people, purchasing Monroe Sound Science, exercises,
That's amazing.
We've reached a lot of people, and it's because of this body of people that you and the other creators are now part of.
Plus Tom Campbell went on Joe Rogan. There's been a lot of stokes in the fire.
It's a lot. It's getting a lot of traction, and once I think it builds more momentum, it's just if everyone would just tell one friend, then it happens.
And I have a secret goal that I've kind of let you in on, of going to content creators and bringing it to them, and I'll just, enough said. But I've got my angle. I've got my avenue. Because you're right. It's like you can't help but want to share something amazing with people. I've always seen this as the same thing as the orbs, but it's like a coin. One of them is heads and one of them is tails. The orbs is heads, and it's like I'll just say Monroe stuff, out of body consciousness, altered perception, all that stuff. ESP. I'll say that's tails. And, flip a coin, heads or tails. Do you want to have a visible, detectable awakening experience that challenges your entire reality and expands your consciousness? Or do you want to have one with your eyes closed that's inward?
Right.
So there's external, there's internal, but they have the same effect. You're seeing a supernatural being, or you're going out of your body, or you're bilocating and you're seeing your wife, walk through the grocery store when you're laying in your bed meditating. You know what I mean? They're the same thing to me. They're truly the same thing. But, one is out, one is in. Right. One is within, one is without. But so I see it as one mission. What I've been doing my whole life, getting on board with Monroe. And I asked you the question about the M5000 because, and I talked about this on my 3-part Gateway series, that this purpose and mission is, when I learned that the first day at Gateway, or the second day technically, because first day you get in, it's kind of late, it's orientation, whatever. But the second day of Gateway, we talked about the purpose and the mission of the Institute. And it was like that moment was what caught me when I fell in love, when I heard the purpose and the mission, which is to awaken global human consciousness and to reach 1% of the world's population with awakening experiences.
I remember so clearly that it was in the morning, maybe late morning.
Yeah.
And we finished that session, that debrief, and you beelined it right to me. I remember this so clearly, and you were just like a kid in a candy store.
Up.
You could not contain yourself. The excitement of that concept. And then you didn't stop the whole week. You were just so pumped about the possibility of reaching that many people with this, with again
with 1%.
Yeah.
Because my whole life I thought it was 50.
Yeah.
And I was like,
we talked
dang,
about that.
1% is way better than
Yeah.
50. I agree with the
easier.
Institute.
Yeah.
I like this.
I'll take that number.
Because my whole life, since I was a child, Dad and I discussed, like, someday when, 50 or 51% of the world have an experience, it'll shift.
Right.
But literally since childhood, I've stressed, oh my God, how are we going to reach 4 billion
That's
people?
a lot of people.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I go to the Institute, and it's, we believe it's 1% of the people. That's just 80 million of the population having some sort of advanced, expanded consciousness experience that it'll change it'll awaken global human consciousness. I'm like, dang, that's perfect. I'm in.
Yeah. Hey, let me ask you this, Ryan. So we're kind of talking about me. I don't know if anybody has done this, but I'm just going to do this. So
okay.
Since your experience at Monroe and with Monroe stuff, because I know you did some stuff and did some exercises before, and you knew about it
Not
before.
in great length, though.
But you had some inkling, just maybe heard some tapes or something. But since sort of officially engaging a program, doing Gateway, and after, can you pick a moment that really sort of capped it for you, that this was a deeply profound and life-altering experience?
You mean at Gateway?
Not at Gateway. Anything after your Monroe, something at Monroe that really kind of tipped you over the edge of, this was a really, really deep and profound thing that you are now doing.
Okay, well, yeah. First of all, you're the first person to ask me a question on my show, and I love that. It just switches it up a little bit.
Well, you said it was a conversation. So
it is. No, but I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. It's creative. Creation Station. But no, I appreciate being in the hot seat, man. This is an exciting opportunity. I can't blow it. So I'm gonna kind of give you the long version, right? So at Gateway, it was like moment to moment, hour to hour was, oh my God, this is insane, right? And throughout the week, it was just an absolutely unbelievable experience. I mean, you know that. You were there. Yeah. Do you remember, I'm just gonna say, after a brief period of silence, to not go into too much detail, and we were in the kitchen, and we had been silent for probably 4 or 5 hours at this point. And you walked in, and I looked at you, and I just said, do we have any oat milk? Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do.
I calculated in my head, do I keep going in this moment? Nah, my coffee's really important right now. No. Actually, it was. I asked, are you being silent? And you thought about it, and you said, not for you.
Yeah.
I'll talk for you. That was a hilarious moment.
Yeah.
I think that was the last day or the second to last day. But anyway, back to your question. So the whole week was profound. It was insane, right? I knew my life was changed. There were many elements of that week that I came home like a different person. But following that, things continued to happen for me. I can't speak for others, right? And I can't create an expectation for others, but what I can do is truthfully speak about me. And I can tell you that since coming home from Gateway, and I've done other programs since. I've done one with you, actually 2 with you,
right?
One under you and one with you. I've done guidelines with Joe Gallenberger and Beth.
Yeah.
Wonderful people.
Yeah.
Amazing program. And in and around that, just having my own experiences at home, laying in bed at night, whatever. Since Gateway to now, which has been 1 year and 4 months, I've gone out of body around 12 times or more even. Just laying in bed, just relaxing and poof, or a huge acceleration of precognitive thoughts. Like I'm thinking something and it pops up on the TV.
Yeah.
Or on a video game, or, a friend texts me. It happened today. It happened today. I was deep in thought about Tom, because I was in a store where he bought me something, a tea shop for Jenny's birthday a couple years ago. He bought us all this tea equipment, And I was in the store and I was thinking about him because he and his fiance kind of had a hard time with something recently. Just something happened to them. It's okay. They're okay. But I was deep in thought about him for the first time in a few weeks. And then boom, he calls me. Stuff like that has ramped up since Gateway. So I know I'm not the same. I know I'm a better man than I was in the sense that when I went to that place, I had a complex. I had a complex from childhood that I always had that my dad and brother were special because they were there on the Cape Fear River and I was not. And that my dad could remove you and do all these things. And my sister was an orb magnet, as my dad always said. And, you know, all this stuff, but nothing happens with me. Nothing goes on with me. I don't have ESP. My sister goes to the Institute. She's going out of body. Nothing happened to me. That was my thoughts. Mm-hmm. Nothing happens to me. Nothing goes on with me. Mm-hmm. I'm nobody special. And then I went to Gateway. And in my intake interview, I even told Maya, I'm like, you know, she's saying, what are your intentions? I'm like, I don't know. I think this stuff is great. My sister's been here. My dad's been here. I know it's real, but I don't really think I have any of these capabilities. I believe in out-of-body travel in theory, but I don't think it's possible for me. And all this stuff. I'm like, I don't know. I just have an open mind and whatever happens, happens. And I'm not like, you know, stressed about anything. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't really think I'm capable of any of these things.
And we talked about it a lot that week. Over coffee, we talked about it a number of times.
And she's kind of smiled at me and she's like, at least have an intention. Right. I'm like, okay, that's fair. Mm-hmm. I have an intention that whatever I need to experience or whatever I do experience is meant for me, and that's enough. Yep. You know, because I've been in the game long enough, seeing orbs and all these things that I kind of know that you can't chase. Like if you're too tense, like things won't happen. I know that from seeing light orbs.
Right.
And I understood it was kind of the same thing. So I was like, you know, whatever happened to happen. I'm not stressed about it. I don't even believe I can do these things. And then, you know, the third day, I'm like, oh crap, I just popped out of body. You know what I mean? It was like I didn't think this was real for me. It was honestly a huge existential shock. Mm-hmm. Really. Like after that happened to me, I tell this story on my episode with Emily Thomas. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've heard it or anything, but we had Emily on and I tell the story because she talked me through it. Mm-hmm. I kind of come to her in secret at lunch and I'm like, you ever see the meme of Matthew McConaughey where he's smoking a cigarette and his eyes are really wide? That was me. I was like, oh my God. And I was like, Emily, I'm really kind of freaked out right now. And she pats me on the shoulder. She's like, you're okay. This happens all the time. Like, it's totally normal. And I was like, hey, this is normal. Yeah. You're right. This is normal. No, I'm fine. You're right. This is normal. Thanks, Emily. And then I go on and it goes on and on. But to get back to your question, by the time I got home, I was a changed man. I didn't have this complex anymore. Mm-hmm. I didn't have this, you know, life where I'm suppressing myself.
Right.
I'm restricting. I'm you know, imprisoning my true nature. Mm-hmm. I didn't believe there was anything special for me. I'm just a guy that talks and reads books for, you know, for my family, right? So it profoundly changed me. It wasn't one moment like you asked. What was the thing? There was no thing. It was tons of things. It was a sequence of events unfolding to where I came home and it's like I'm laying in bed. I'm like, uh-oh, my third eye's pulsing. And then whoosh, I'm seeing a past life and I'm out of body. And then all these things just happen. And I'm not like trying to do these things. They just happen. So, yeah, I came back a changed person. I came back more smiley, mm-hmm. more hopeful about the future, more connected to myself, more motivated to empower others. Yeah. When I went to Gateway, I was at a point. We were in the show 3 years. We had been doing the show 3 years. And I was at a point where I'm like, I love the show. I'm grateful to do this, but this isn't enough for me. Mm-hmm. I don't want to just talk at people for the rest of my life. I have to do something more. And then, poof, I get invited there and, you know, I start having these incredible experiences. And then next thing I know, I'm in class.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
For a year.
And it's so great, too, because you tell this in terms of your story that it's you were changed. There was more for you. And this is probably the most beautiful thing I witness is people realizing that they've simply changed their own, the perspective of their own self. Yeah. Because you're still Ryan mm-hmm. that registered and the Ryan that was the last one to leave Gateway. Actually, I think it was Brad, wasn't it? I think he was the last one to drive off the property, but I
was like second to last.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it was Brad.
But you were still Ryan, but you had a new outlook. It's like what Bob says, a different overview. Mm-hmm. And it's it's beautiful because you realize that sort of constriction, that suppressing of Ryan is the very thing that we struggle with, is why am I not this way, or why can't I have this in life, or why is my life this way? It's because you're the one holding it in place that way.
Yeah.
And you learn that you don't have to hold that in place. And then you go, oh, there you are. And that now has a place for an outlet to be expressed. And this is the beautiful part, is you are extraordinary as Ryan, and Alex is extraordinary as Alex. And you are now very simply being the unique perspective that no one has, no one else, and the world is begging for unique and authentic experiences. And the only way that's going to happen is if we can truly recognize that authentic expression. And this is what I see when I witness participants do the exercises, feel confused, feel like they don't understand, or they just are frustrated, all the different, this spectrum of experiences that I am privileged to see, and I hold those all sacred because they're unique to each person. And it's so incredible to watch the realness appear in each of those participants' eyes.
Yes.
And the joy they have. And even if they are frustrated, even those participants who leave frustrated, there is a different glimmer. And they come to me, or they say to me, or send an email and say, I know this didn't happen, but I'm so excited about doing this now.
Yeah.
And that's how the world's going to change.
Yeah.
One person at a time. If we can all change as individuals, the whole world changes.
We were talking about it this morning over coffee, and I just was making the comment to you because I really do see it this way, especially with some of the advancements that I think maybe in the future for Monroe as technology gets better, right? But I totally see a future where it's like, oh, did you practice your tuba? Yes, Mom. Okay. Did you do your Monroe exercises?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's the thing. It's just amazing curriculum that, in theory, if everyone learned these techniques, would their total self would unfold more.
Mm-hmm.
Which, what is your total self? Well, a part of that includes your multidimensional nature.
Correct.
A part of that includes the extrasensory perception that you were born with, and it's your birthright because it's a part of your being. A part of your total self includes being able to have precognitive thoughts, or, to be able to remote view, or all of these things.
Mm-hmm.
This is not just some funky stuff that people are into. No, this is inherent with each one of us. Because it's normal, yes, because we're more than our physical body, right? This isn't just some extra thing that a chosen few get.
Right.
No, this is who we are, right? And I totally see a future where this process is so refined, and it's already refined, but it's a curriculum, that I think it's going to be ubiquitous.
Yeah.
I think it's like Xavier School for the Gifted or Hogwarts. It really is that thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's the best one I've found. So.
Yeah. And the beauty, you said it too, is it's so progressive, and it's so
the curriculum.
It's so well thought out. The brilliance of Bob's legacy is it's systematic, it's step by step. And I remember a guy that he gave a talk, and he talked about listening to your teachers, listening to your instructors. They've gone through it, they understand it, which is why it's good to have a good teacher, because you know that they understand it. Follow their instructions. Don't change it. Don't turn it into what you think it should be. Just try it this way. Just try it this way. Engage it the way they say. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, now find something different, go to the next exercise, go to the next thing. But it's, again, the tools that you learn and you practice them, and don't expect it to work instantly. Not saying that it can't, but give yourself a little bit of grace. You're learning something new.
Yeah.
You wouldn't try to teach a child something, and if they didn't do it the first time, you're not going to be upset with them. No, you just say, no, try it this way.
Mm-hmm.
Yet we as adults, we don't give ourselves that flexibility. We place these, unrealistic demands on ourselves. And so just follow the instructions systematically, do the exercises, and then watch it unfold.
Yeah.
Watch it unfold.
Something else that's really cool is the experience of people going there and spending a week or whether it's 2 days, whatever program they do, and it's their first exposure to this. And I'm going to keep it a little vague, just because. I talked about this a little bit on the Tom Campbell episode. This individual has been on my show, on full disclosure, like talking about some of these experiences. But just for the sake of names, I'll keep it vague. But this individual, she went to Gateway this summer and didn't feel like she really understood it. It's very cool. I love this, but I feel like I'm not really doing anything. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
A couple months go by. She came and did my first program, which was 2 weekends ago. And she, in 2 days, and it's not because of me, right? It's because of the work she did. Just talking about how you were saying,
like prep work.
It can unfold later.
Right.
Everybody's on a different path. But at the 6 days, and then coming and doing the 2-day program with me, it was just like, boom, like the floodgates opened and started having all these profound experiences. And it was like she was able to understand the Gateway more. Mm-hmm. And then, it was like all that prep work had been established so that by the time she came and did a re-up on it, which is, the program we do is Exploring Consciousness, which is, kind of like the first 2 days of Gateway with some alterations, right? So it was like, I've done this stuff before for a week. Now this time I have a little bit more understanding to it. And she just soared. Mm-hmm. And everyone's different, Some people, like me, for example, I got to Gateway and I was just like, oh my God, I'm in. And I was just like on it the whole week and just having so many experiences and so many profound developments and realizations. And then some people, as you know, they're like, yeah, this is really cool, but I just feel like I'm not really they're not really getting it. And then they go back and it's like, boom. It's just amazing how the path is different for everybody. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm trying to say? I'm trying to keep it vague, to not divulge, up front about certain things that should be experienced. But it's just amazing. It's amazing how everybody's on a different journey, and it's individual.
Like I said, it's just your unique perspective. It's your unique and authentic expression of your total self and what the gift you have to share with people, not what you logically think I want people to know this. No, there's something bigger and broader to who you are. Mm-hmm. And that's what the world is hungry for, I think.
Yeah.
Everyone has something that not everyone else has.
Yeah. That's totally true.
Yeah. And it's interesting that, she did the prep work the first time she did Gateway, and then kind of came back to that foundation that you learned in those first couple of days. And I trained a program recently, and during one of the sessions, one of the participants asked, well, you as trainers, they asked both Beth and myself, well, what's your favorite, best exercise that you go to? You guys are trainers and you're advanced and all of that, whatever that means. You guys, what's your favorite one to do? And Beth shared hers, and I said, well, I don't know that I have a favorite one, but the one that I always return to is the one that we learn on the first day of Exploring Consciousness and the first day of Gateway. Uh-huh. And it's the fundamental exercise that all the Monroe programs and all of the curriculum is built upon. And it's knowing how to really deeply relax the body, but still maintain awareness and have your mind to be awake. Mm-hmm. because that's where the work happens, both intentional and also even passive work, to really sort of unplug from the body and or just allow it to be at rest.
Yeah, and to undo limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
That's a big one.
And that happens when you aren't worried about aches and pains, or, am I
Fears.
tall enough, or is my hair too short, or whatever it is. You get to have time with inner awareness and be awake and alive in that. When most of the time when we deeply relax our body, we fall asleep because we're so tired, which is okay. But when you're ready to do the work, it helps to be aware so you can be intentional in the work. And so coming back to your participant, she had done the work.
Yeah.
And then you guided her through this, and she engaged it intentionally. She was ready. And that's what I said at the beginning. Come to it wanting that change, like truly authentically wanting that change, and being ready to accept it and surrender to it and say, you know what, I really am ready. And that's when the real fun stuff starts to happen.
Yeah, it's incredible. Wow, this has been amazing. I'm curious if there's anything. Let me just say this. This is something I like to ask people. Okay, it's not a tough question. I just think it's very interesting to hear people's perspective. Right. If you were being heard simultaneously by everybody in the world at the same time, like you had the world stage, what's the thing that you feel you would need to tell those people?
I think I would ask the question, again, right back to the beginning, ask this question. Do you feel that you are connected to everyone? Do you feel like this whole concept of we are all one? And I think most people would say, yeah, well, we're all humans, so yeah, we're connected. That could be their way of answering the question without getting too weird, like we were saying, / extraordinary. Do you feel that we're all one? Yes. Then I would simply say, then what you're doing to your neighbor, you're doing to yourself. If you don't like it, change it. And it starts one by one, because people are doing atrocious things to one another. And they don't realize when your life is unhappy, why are you experiencing unhappy? Why are you experiencing pain? Why are you experiencing misery? Well, what is it that you're doing to others, even in subtle ways, that ultimately you're doing to yourself, because we're all one? So I would say it would be so beneficial for you and everyone around you to realize that and to accept that as a personal truth, that we're all connected and that you are treating yourself that way. And if you don't like it, start treating other people in service and in love and in giving, and that becomes the nature of your experience in life.
I think it's even deep, like more deep too, like as far as our thoughts even. That in some level, wait, if I can think about another location around the world and view some coordinate, and it's once upon a time there was military facilities where people are thinking about coordinates and receiving information from around the world. If I can think about leaving the body and I do it, if I can think about XYZ thing and it happens, and there's some level of reality being altered just by me thinking, what's happening to other people when I think about them on the subtle level or energetically?
Yep.
What's happening when I direct my thoughts towards another person? So maybe I shouldn't think so negative and judgmentally about this person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's the whole concept of people wanting to manifest instantly. I want to be able to manifest and create this thing. I want this. And I always, when I have this conversation with people, I ask them, I said, how clean are your thoughts? How much goodness is there in your thoughts? Do you ever say, oh, I'm just so sick of that? That's a subtle thought you're having.
Yeah.
And you make me sick. Well, if you could manifest those words instantly, I think you'd be very cautious about saying that anymore.
I think you're absolutely onto something.
And so if people can really be thoughtful and clear about their thoughts, they would send a beautiful thought to everyone they saw. And watch your thoughts around the person that cuts you off in traffic. You don't, curse at them. You say, I hope they're okay because they must be in a hurry. And wherever they're going, I hope they get there safely.
In January, which is funny because I took your program in December, almost a year ago. And we talked about this, right? Mm-hmm. Remember you were like, for a year, I didn't use the word just. Mm-hmm. We had a whole conversation for days. Mm-hmm. And Alex and I continue to talk about this sometimes, about the concept of like changing our language, but that all can go out the door sometimes if you're really upset. And in January, something happened that for me was very negative. Mm-hmm. Not something I did, but something that kind of happened to me, right? And I was so upset about this. I was just like, it makes me sick. It makes me sick. Like, this makes me freaking sick. I got the flu for a week. That week. Just in a matter of days, I was bedridden with the flu.
Yep.
I remember I was so sick that I watched an entire 60 to 70 arc of One Piece. I had to say that.
Yeah,
but,
no, you did.
An entire 60 to 70 episode arc. But that's a true story, though. Arc of One Piece, laying on the bed because I was sick with the flu. So I think you're absolutely onto something. And
if you're that powerful to be able to speak some words into an experience, why wouldn't you choose other words? Why would you, wish ill on somebody else when it's just as easy to wish goodness on somebody, or a beautiful experience, or
understanding,
clarity? And then guess what? If you are connected or part of them, you are simply wishing that upon yourself.
Yeah.
And so the idea of service for others, giving to others, being accepting of others, loving. We're not all perfect. We're not going to do it all the time, but be careful about wanting to be able to manifest on the spot, or at least begin to be more aware of how you think, because you are that powerful.
I do believe there is a future like Robert Monroe writes in his third book. You remember what I'm talking about? Yep. He goes to the year 3000. I'll just tell Alex because he don't know the story. He goes to the year 3000, right? Because when he starts going out of body thousands and thousands of times, he's going to the past. He's going to the future. He's going to other dimensions. He's going to other realities. He's speaking to different intelligences. All kinds of things are happening. And at the end of his third book, it's really incredible. He goes to what he perceives to be the year 3000. And I'm not going to go into extreme detail because it's like a whole chapter or two. But essentially, he sees a world where the physical body is an experience, and it's like our primary existence is not even the physical body anymore, but it's just like thought and energy. And it's like, hey, you want to go hop in a body real quick and we can hang out and like eat apples and just experience being physical for a little bit? Sure. And they just pop in a body, and they can just manifest with thought. They can just travel through the power of their mind, and nobody's hungry. Nobody's like in poverty, and people literally just think in it, and it occurs. And I do think that's possible. I do think that's our future. I really do. I think things like levitation, manifesting through thought, all of that is real. And I suspect that there was some precursor humanity. Maybe if we want to talk about like the whole Atlantis thing, we don't have to. I'm just saying the concept. Like I think that's probably what we were, and then we've been evolving back up to that point. I think that's the cycle of humanity. Every time that's where it goes at the next like branch off point past physical evolution. And I think exactly what you just said, you nailed it on the head, which is like, be careful about wanting to manifest on the spot. And I think that's part of how we evolved to that point, is it's not just a biological evolution, but it's spiritual. And that has to do with us becoming more and more and more loving and kind and pure, so that these powers let's just say, if this was real and we manifested with thought, then that's why society was probably wiped out, because people are thinking really bad thoughts and, boom, 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 devastating the land, sinking beneath the ocean, wiping out humanity, cataclysm. That's why we have to think good thoughts. We have to think good, good words, good thoughts, good deeds. We have to be kind to other people. We have to be loving and
constructive and progressive.
Seek unity, or as Tom Campbell says, brilliant, reduce entropy, right? Because I do think that's where we're headed, where more and more is going to be possible through thought.
Right.
Maybe that's extreme. Oh, manifest an apple with thought. Maybe that's possible. Maybe it's not. But the point remains,
Yeah, and I think what you said too, if it's a physical manifestation or evolution, I think it's, or you said, or a spiritual. Or
yeah,
I think
it's both.
I think, honestly, I think it's spiritual, because what follows is the experience in the physical. It starts at thought, an idea. And to what you say, well, is this a future thing, or this could be? I ask the question, where did the idea of that concept arrive from?
Yeah.
Perhaps it already existed that way. And it's a memory.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that idea had to come from somewhere. Did somebody just conjure it up? Like, oh, this is going to be new? Or is it something...
It's a part of our DNA.
That's remembered.
Yeah.
And I think...
Never thought about that.
A lot of the work that we do is about remembering. And I think it's important to remember what and who we are.
Yeah.
Because we've never changed. The core of what we are was always this.
Yeah.
But the experiences have changed. Evolutions or destruction or construction of things. So is it the future, or is it really a remembrance of something that already was?
That's deep. I never thought about it like that. My friend Jefferson told me recently, and this too is so brilliant, but for every one of us, there's 10 children that are nonverbal and they can't turn it off. Telepathy tapes.
Yep.
And they're constantly hearing thoughts, and they're speaking to spirits, and they're seeing the future, and they're doing all this stuff. For every one of us, there's 10 of them, Something's going on here. You know what I mean? Humanity's headed somewhere, and it's inevitable. And I think the way to get to that destination is like what you said, which was, be kind. Remember, we're all one. Be loving to other people. We can't be bestowed. My friend Dan told me this, Dan Brule. He said the universe cannot, or the universe will not give you powers until you are ready to wield them. You can't just have the power to do anything you want with your thoughts, because then if you're, an egotistical, self-serving person, you might, do some bad with that. And I really do think that these sort of abilities that can unfold from us, from our psyche, that they're kind of locked behind a little door. And the way to unlock that door, spiritual path, kindness, purging your karma, walking on, a path of service to others, uplifting others, bringing up humanity, right? And I could go on and on and on and on about that, but that's why I love Monroe, because it's on that path.
Because when you uplift yourself, you uplift the whole.
Yeah.
Because as consciousness is one thing. And so in your awareness, if you are evolving and progressing, you lift the whole.
Right. Yeah, true. But also, I think they always say to teach is to learn twice. So I think to help others and to uplift others and to, bring them up with you is just like multiplied. Your growth, your inner journey, and a rising tide lifts all ships. So I truly think that's the future we're headed. Yeah. Something like, the curriculum of Monroe will be ubiquitous. It'll be everywhere. Hey, I just got done practicing tuba. Great. Do your prep process. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, come on, 10 minutes or something like that. Like, it's going to be everywhere.
Common.
Whether it's said exactly, common. And it's like going to just be so ingrained in humanity. There's really a magic here. Mm-hmm. But the magic isn't us. It's just the curriculum of Monroe is a really good teacher mm-hmm. to pull the magic out of you that's already there. Right. And I'm telling you, I went to that place with a complex, and I had myself locked in a prison, and I came out of that self with my limiting beliefs completely eradicated mm-hmm. and just going down a completely different path. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
you had a new map.
Yeah.
Yep. New map. Yep. New direction.
Great answer. Yep. I think this is the longest we've ever hovered on that final question. Oh. I like to ask people at the end, what would you tell the whole world? I think we went like 20 minutes on it. That was great. Excellent. Fantastic. Excellent. And if you guys are sad that we're about to wrap up with Ignacio, fret not, because he will be returning next week. Along with my sister. That's going to be a really fun one. I'm really looking forward to that. So, any last words?
No, come join us at Monroe. Experience the programs online. Yeah. In person, and coming to locations near you as well. Yes. Maybe I'll wait a little longer down the road to talk more about that. Yeah. There's some expansion going on at the moment. But what about your programs? I want them to be able to find you. Oh, sure. Your links and things. Yeah, my links for Exploring Consciousness, which are virtual or in person, cyphericsolutions.com. You can see information about my programs, music that I write that's available online, Monroe related, music related. So there, and I think we can list it in the description as well. So yes, also as well at monroeinstitute.org. Okay, you'll find me there as well as any sort of artist collaboration that exists where musicians such as my sister, tune in next week, but any sort of collaboration where musicians are putting out music that's using the Monroe Sound Science. This is the man behind the scenes that's doing this. So really talented artists out there. Yeah. If you're seeking, this is the guy. But anyways, thank you for joining. We will see you next week. And thanks for having me. Yeah, this has been a blast. I love it. Long time coming. Yeah, long time coming. And we're going to do it again tomorrow, which Excellent. For their perspective is next week. So to that, I will say bye, guys. Bye, guys.